we asked you if you could think of a real-world partnering challenge, dilemma, problem that you're facing in your work. And again, rather than, even though the remote partnering project has done a lot of research, a lot of analysis, we wanted to hear from you first. What are you facing up to? And we're actually thinking we'll do this every Thursday. And every Thursday we'll pick one challenge and we'll work on it. And we're inviting everyone in the course to join as well to help us work on it with the person who is facing the challenge. Of course, there are many common challenges. Now, we do need specific contextual challenges. So there are sort of abstract issues that are really interesting, but we need you to sort of spell out what it, what is the problem, who are the stakeholders, how it's, what are the, the exact context that you're in. We have a very specific structure for this. So, we'd like to hear first from the problem owner. And you can see, we've got very short timings for the rest of this. And so I'm pleased to just share, this is his profile picture in Scholar, Sumaru Tripathi, who we also heard from in the participant presentation. And he shared a really interesting problem or challenge that he's facing. It's got multiple dimensions. I think with Catherine, we kind of thought we would zero in on one or two because of the format for this. And so this is what Sumaru told us about his remote partnering context. Because he's here with us, I'm going to invite him to, I'm going to unmute his microphone. And Sumaru, in line with our proposed structure, we'd like to hear from you briefly. What is the problem that you're facing? What is the remote partnering challenge? And meanwhile, participants can also read it here.
Yeah. Namaste, everyone. Actually, I'm here in Nepal for working with Oxfam in Nepal since July 2015, the 2015 earthquake. Then after I'm responsible for humanitarian capacity building work like humanitarian preparedness and response plannings. And I'm dealing with nearly 47 local NGOs are just managing the sub-grant. They are just managing the sub-grant. We have a partnership agreement until there is some budget and project activities. And when the project activities and budget finished, then our partnership is finished. And in Oxfam partnership strategy, as well as global Oxfam partnership strategy and Nepal's Oxfam partnership, there are three provisions of partnership. One is strategic partnerships, another one is project-based partnership, and the next one is, third one is network and alliance-based partnership. And the strategic partnership is quite a dynamic one, and it is quite a transformational one. But Oxfam in Nepal and globally, we are not catching these things because we are just oriented towards project-based partnership. When the project is finished, our partnership is finished, and that's how we are dealing with our partners. And in the context of Nepal, we are just dealing with 47 partners, around 23 districts. They are quite a scattered one, and we have been following them through distance, by using emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, and other means of communications we are dealing with. But parallelly, we are also doing assessment and other things, presenting ourselves at the partners level. That's how we are dealing with the partners from the distance. So remote partnership is quite challenging one. Thank you.
Okay, great, Sumaru, and congrats on keeping to the time. All right, so that's you. I invite you to look at the slides, to sort of load the slides on your own screen, so you can look at the. There's a lot of information in there. I struggled with how to edit it down. I'll give you my take on what's what I think is but this is what was shared. But now we have 5 minutes between Catherine and myself. So because we are a bit behind, I will abstain and would love to give that 5 minutes to Catherine.
Okay, thank you, Reda. So thank you for sharing your problem, and very good of you. We are also seeing here that there's quite a lot of challenge in the one challenge. We've got the challenge of creating a strategic partnership. You've got the challenge of most of the staff and partners not being aware of partnership principles. And then you've got IT and modern means of communication issues. So I'll try and address each one of them really quickly. In terms of strategic partnership, I mean, that often will happen at the strategic level. It's very difficult to try and make a partnership strategic or transformational if we're at the level of the partnership. And this will always have to come from the place of initiation. And if the place of initiation is not actually moving or wanting to change or wanting to address the issue, I would suggest that as partners, you have the ability to connect together and find a way of addressing the wider issues to do with senior management or the strategic oversight of the partnerships by commenting and having a unified voice amongst the partnerships to address some of the changes that you might want to have. So for example, that takes me neatly to the partnership principles. So if most of the staff are not aware of the partnership principles, how many of your partners have got partnership principles in place? It might be that you're the only organization that has them in place. And would this be something that you're willing to share with other partners? If other partners have got their partnership principles, would it be an idea to share all of each other's partnership principles and see whether you could come to an understanding or development of agreed ones for this particular partnership? Because as we grow in our partnership skills and awareness, more and more organizations are going to have their own partnership principles. But each unique partnership will want to address or value different things. And it's important that we build the kind of ownership and value system within that partnership that really reflects what's important to each partner. Now, if the partnership principles are just on paper and you really want them to be acted upon, it often is possible that you can create an agreement within your own partnership on the things that you value, the ways in which you're going to communicate, the ways in which you're going to share, perhaps creating equity by sharing some of the power around your partnership, but also being realistic about what is possible within your organization and what is possible within your own partnership, and also what's possible as to what you can bring to the partnership. How courageous are you to suggest, and how able are you to suggest ways in which the partnership can change. So I don't want to finish without addressing the IT situation, because that is probably one of the most challenging ones, and ones that we realize we've got four different groups of people, you know, in terms of generations. And so there are going to be people who are really behind in terms of being on top of the communication and IT. And so it's about, is there someone in the partnership that might be able to volunteer time to talk to the various members that are behind or really struggling to get on with the technology? So if people don't want to respond to an online form, is there someone that can help them, assist them, and walk them through how to do the online form? Failing that, is there a way that you could have a workshop, an online workshop, to look at all the various tools that could really excite the partnership? So could you show them, you know, a communication platform and talk them through it and walk them through it? Because often what happens is that these things are introduced and people get scared and they shut off. They're just not interested because they're actually petrified of getting online and not knowing how to do it. So finding champions that can really support each partner, or doing it as a group, or going from partnership to partnership and running one-to-one sessions to really help and support someone to get up there. Because we've all been there at one time or another, introduced to a new system, just like we are with Scholar. And with the help and the support, this is where we can actually change how we view the technology and actually see it as an enabler and bringing variety to our relationships rather than something to be afraid of. So I'll stop here.
Great, thank you, Kath. All right, Sumaru, back to you to respond to to share your thoughts after having listened to Catherine's initial response.
Yeah, actually, is a humanitarian organization, Oxfam itself, because we should have some strategic relationship also, though it's really difficult to establish transformational partnership or relationship between partners, because we capacitate partner NGOs or local NGOs, board members or staff members. We will provide them EMA training. We will provide them first aid training, source rescue training, basic source rescue training. And after 1 year, when project finished, they left the organization. And again, when the project is started, we need to develop their capacity. That's how we are doing repeatedly same things. If we develop strategic partnerships, then we can develop the capacity, and we can take their capacity as well. So there is the mutual understanding and mutual supporting mechanisms. Likewise, regarding online, their willingness for communications mechanisms to use communication mechanisms on IT equipment is very low, because most of the partners at the districts, they don't know how to use the online systems and other things. But sometimes we used to organize some workshops for reporting and other things, financial report and narrative reporting systems and others. But after sometimes, and they don't feel confident at the same time. And because another thing is we need resources as well for a capacity building plan. That's how we are facing the things. But what Catherine has suggested, I'm quite happy with her suggestion that making them familiar, if it is possible, organizing workshops or going partner-wise to support them on online communication, other things. But the most challenging things is strategic partnership, because as a humanitarian organizations, responsible persons for the country, for preparedness and capacity developments, I'm facing these sort of problems. That's why I'm raising this issue. And I think we need to organize lots of workshops and capacity building activities to make them familiarize with IT equipments and response through online systems as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. All right, we've got some initial comments. So from Maria Isabel Navarro says, and I'm reading these because anybody who views the recording won't be able to see the chat messages. Local partners get oftentimes confused, especially when they are dealing with various INGOs that they are in partnership with. Each international NGO has different ways of working. And Gezaheg Kebede Gebrehena actually has a question for you, Sumaru. What are the key risks that you envisage in maintaining the partnership? So before we go to the, go ahead, if you'd like to answer that one.
Yeah, could you repeat the question again?
It's in the, you should be able to see it in the chat window at the bottom of the chat. What are the key risks that you envisage in maintaining the partnership?
Yeah, actually, because of these project-based partnerships, we are facing lots of problems, because when the project is approved, then we try to search for the partners, and when the project is finished, our activities is finished, budget is finished, the partnership will finish, and that's how we are managing. And for the effective partnerships and partnership management, there are lots of challenges in the context like Nepal, in the country like Nepal. So because traveling to different parts of the country is really a risky job, frequent travels, and it's quite time consuming. and it's expensive as well to travel, because we have to travel hilly area through your we need to take your route sometimes, and sometimes we can go by the road. That's how, and in some districts we don't have a proper installation of communication mechanism and internet facility as well. So that's how we are facing. But in terms of Oxfam's strategy, strategic partnership, there is the provisions of preparing 4-5 national level partners as strategic ones are location wise. But this practice, in practice, it's really difficult unless we have a budget, proper budget, and people to orient and to guide the partners and partnership staffs and volunteers as well.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. So I'm going to start the timer on possible solutions. I see several questions to you. I invite you to respond to them, or to sort of look at the questions that are coming up. I'm just starting the 5-minute timer. I just wanted to share an initial thought as we don't see. I think I'm not sure. When I looked at the case that you were kind enough to share with us, and thank you for doing it, for being amongst the first to do it. I really see sort of 3 things that are sort of unacknowledged. It's resources, leadership, and learning. It seems to me like there's a change process that's needed. How do you get people to sort of digitally transform how they work? And that's quite a big challenge in and of itself. And it's distinct from the project work itself. So until there's a sort of explicit acknowledgement that moving people along, sort of supporting them and sort of changing how they work is explicit, you're not going to have the resources that would be needed to support that change process. That was the first dimension. Second would be a leadership dimension. Are there, and Catherine spoke to this, are there champions, people who could sort of take the, who are into IT in their own personal lives, yes, who may not be at work, and how can you find them? Maybe it's going to come down to actually going to visit, paying sort of physical world visits to people, showing them why this is in their interest, how this can benefit them, how this can improve the autonomy that they have, rather than threaten, allow the INGOs to exert more control, whatever the issues may be there. And then the third might be that part of the incentive might be a learning one. So where you might be able to offer to some of these people IT training that would help them in their professional development, improve their CVs, improve their professional prospects, and also get them to sort of over that tipping point where they sort of open up to, filling out an online form. So resources, leadership, and learning, those are really my first thoughts. So to go back to what's going on in the chat, we have a comment from Patrick Abangi. Trust is one key aspect envisaged in maintaining partnerships. Shamnaz says, what change do you see by strategic partnership at Nepal for strengthening local humanitarian leadership? So I'm going to read these, and then Sumaru, we can go back to you. Jason says, do you include budget posts for partnering issues and applications? That speaks to the resource dimension. Are there any security issues connected to having such open remote partnering channels? Jeremiah says, since the partnership is project-based, would there be a possibility that the organization identifies a few that it would consider as key partners? This may save on funds and other resources like staff or capacity building as part of less quantity and higher quality. Also asks, Jason, what is the average age group of your staff and the staff of your partners' experience versus the youth? Emma Livingston Jones, if you could paint a picture, describe a vision of what you would like your partnership to be in, say, 6 months' time, what would it be? And then Lydia, is it possible to engage with the wider INGO stakeholders operating in Nepal to come up with a joint strategic partnership leadership development approach? As someone has pointed out, local NGOs are operating with different international ones. A common approach seems to be crucial to sustaining any change. So that's a lot of questions. Sumaru, back to you if you'd like to address at least some of the points. We have 9 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, in case of Nepal, when I joined with Oxfam, and before I worked with Red Cross, because Red Cross has its one wings at the grassroots levels as well, and they have lots of capacity building plan for district chapters youth circles and junior circles, and they have that sort of mechanisms. When I entered into the Oxfam, an NGO, humanitarian NGO, here I saw quite different perspectives of capacity buildings, and because most of the partnerships depends on project implementation. So they are based on the project implementations, and when the project is finished, the relationship is finished, partnership is finished. That's how we are dealing. And when I came to the Oxfams, I saw, I heard that some partners told me that we are the strategic partners of Oxfam. And I asked them the question at the same times, and how you are being the strategic partners? Do you have any documents? And is Oxfam working on your capacity buildings? And are you consulted when Oxfam is proposing some project to donors? And they said that, but we don't have that sort of communications. But Oxfam says we are their strategic partners, and we are also thinking that we are the strategic partners of Oxfam. That's how the relationship was developed and partnership was going on. And when I came to Oxfam, and then I tried to identify the strategic partners, but I received one document that was signed 5 or 6 years before with one national NGO as a strategic partners for capacity buildings. And that practice, I'm trying to cascade that practice to other NGOs, national and local NGOs. And I proposed to our CMD, senior management teams, about the strategic partnership and the capacity building plans. I prepared one proposals and submitted them. Then they try to source the resources, and actually for the capacity building plans, they don't have any money, and it was stopped. And later, now we are initiating to develop strategic partners in province-wise, because Nepal is transferring to the federalism now, and we have altogether 7 provinces. And if we develop the capacity and we establish the strategic partnership with the national level partners, then they are not allowed to work in province level at some times. That's why we are planning to develop the capacity of our partners who are based in the province. And we are trying to select 7 partners from the province and develop their capacity. I'm just working on that things, how we can develop their capacity. Just we are on the assessing process. We are now just in the assessment process of these partners, and then afterwards we will develop our plan, 1 or 2 years plan for partnership capacity developments. And then when the proposals will be developed, at that time they will be consulted, and the information will be gathered from the community levels, and they will be involved in planning process. That's how we are planning in Nepal. But the practice is still dead.
Sumaru, we have
not
some
like
more.
that.
Sumaru, sorry to interrupt, but we only have 5 minutes left, and we have more comments. Maria, so thanks for filling in, for continuing to sort of paint the picture. Maria says determining strategic partners can be quite subjective, as it depends on each INGO's organizational capacity assessment or tools. I haven't seen any clear evaluation tools on partnership, and so I would like to suggest 2 things and actually Emma Livingston Jones made a suggestion or a question. If you could paint a picture, describe a vision of what you would like your partnership to be in, say, 6 months' time, what would it be? So I'm going to start the last 5-minute timer and ask you to kick us off on that. And then Catherine will have a closing comment before we sign off. So Sumaru, if you could describe, if you were able to sort of progress on these issues, what would your partnership look like 6 months from now?
Yeah, actually, I'm planning, I'm just assessing our partners' humanitarian capacity. I'm planning developing some formats to individual assessment format for humanitarian DRR program implementation, to assess the DRR humanitarian program implementation capacity. And after finalizing these, I will send to all Oxfam staffs as well as partners, staffs and volunteers, board members actually. And after collecting these, we are planning to prepare one report based on these assessment informations data. Then we will develop a roadmap for 6-month capacity building plans and developing strategic relationship with the within this 6-month planning roadmap, I will try to plan how they can assess communication, social communication media, and how they can be familiar with them. And I'm planning to address like humanitarian preparedness, capacity building, as well as communication orientation type of workshops or some trainings. I will planning to organize these trainings, and I will do this. And then after 6 months, when we visit or when we try to reach them and try to collect information from our partners, we can easily assess from the Kathmandu to the remote areas as well. And we could gather information, and we can have Skype conference chat. We can have Facebook groups also between Oxfam and Oxfam's partners. That's how I'm seeing our partnership in coming 6 months. For this, I'm planning to develop some capacity building plan after assessing them. First, I need to assess their capacity, existing capacity, and I will prepare the roadmap for the 6 months, and how that can be changed will be seen within 6 months. That's how I'm planning to develop partnership within 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. I'm just wondering if, and I've asked her in the chat in a private message, but maybe I'll just do a cold call to Emma. Emma, could you tell us how would you just could sort of visioning or painting a picture of what Sumaru you would want to see 6 months from now? How would that be helpful to him and to actually thinking through the problem solving around these specific issues? Would love to hear from you about that if you're comfortable doing that.
By mic?
Yes, loud and clear.
Cool. Hello. Sam, that's fantastic. The stuff you're saying sounds really wonderful. It sounded to me like you described a lot of the what, so you've got a clear vision of where you need to get to. I'd be really interested as part of the picture for you to talk about some of the how. So how you'll engage with the partners, how you'll get them on board, how can you make them want to engage with you, and also engage perhaps with some of the methods and technologies that you use. So more that side of it, the how as well as the what.
Okay, so we unfortunately are out of time, but I'm going to invite you to continue this discussion in Scholar, because this case, this challenge will be posted there as part of an update. And really, before we sign off, really want to hear Catherine's closing comment. Over to you, Catherine.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Sumaru, for for presenting your challenge and for allowing us to pile in with our ideas. And I think Emma's closing words around really looking at the how is really what all this course is about. And we hope that some of the things that we've actually dealt with today will even give you a glimpse of little things that you can try. So for example, the coffee trials are one kind of approach. The partnership challenge that we've presented here is a way that you can actually take the partnership challenge to your partners and actually get them to problem solve some of the issues that are going on in your own partnerships. Using the timers can help bring equity of voices to your table. So when you're running your meetings, let's say you're teasing out an idea or getting an idea bounced around with everyone, you give everyone 2 minutes and you use the timer. That will stop people from taking over the meetings. We know there's some people who will talk on and on and on. Before you know it, you have no time left.